and welcome to another episode of the Marco Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Life of an Entrepreneur on my podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I'm going to tell you all about my journey with entrepreneurship. I know I've touched on it a little bit here and there, but I've never actually gone into it. And so I just feel compelled to share that with you all. So you've probably heard me say before that being an entrepreneur, it's not easy. Everybody just thinks that it's an overnight success, and it really isn't. Like, you would be surprised at how many people are on their third businesses, their fourth businesses, maybe even their fifth businesses, and they're just now figuring out like what works for them and what it is that they really want to do and what it is that they should be doing. And I'm in that same boat. So I started my entrepreneurship journey back in 2010, 2011, one of those, somewhere in 2010 or 2011. And I started off, as I've told you all before, I love event planning. Got my event planning certification right after I graduated college because I really wanted to go into that field. Like, I had this whole vision for my event planning business and everything. So in 2010, I started my event planning business. I don't even remember what the name of it was, but I remember that was when the BlackBerry tablet had first came out. And so I got my BlackBerry tablet. I went out and I got a second phone line because I was like, I don't want people calling me on my regular number. I'm getting myself another phone line. And my husband still has the picture to this day of me holding up the BlackBerry tablet and my BlackBerry with my business. And there was this website that was offering like free marketing stuff for businesses. So I got all these banners and business cards and just all this marketing stuff for free for this business that I was starting. And that's where it all ended. I think I took the BlackBerry tablet back within the time frame. I think the 14 days that I had to take it back, I took the tablet back to the store. Of course, I was still stuck with the phone line because, you just can't get out of those phone contracts. And then I had all this marketing stuff. And it was because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to start a business. I had no clue how to start a business. I mean, don't businesses just pop up? That's what I'm thinking. So yes, that was about as far as my event planning business. After that, I actually tried doing a MLM, multi-level marketing business, and I started selling Pure Romance. I did that for a couple of months, and that just got really stressful. The lady who I went in under, she was like doing great. She was killing it at her parties. I mean, I went to a couple of her parties with her before I signed up just to see if it was something that I was interested in and what I wanted to do. And I mean, one party that I went to, she made $1,000. And I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. And I think at that party, she only had maybe 6 or 7 people there. And I was like, oh yeah, I can definitely do this like 2 hours out of my day on a weekend or something like that. I can do this. So I signed up under her, and she was wonderful. She was a great mentor. Went to my first party. I sold one thing. Like, it didn't even justify me ordering what it was that the person sold, because I would have spent more money ordering it than I would have actually made. So the lady who brought me in, she actually let me just have one of the products because she would keep a lot of products on hand. So she let me have one of the products so that I could give, so that I wouldn't waste money. I think I did maybe a total of 4 or 5 parties, and I had a whole bunch of leads because she would send the people in her downline like leads and stuff if it was in our area. And she was really like generous with doing that because she already had her client base. So she was super generous with like giving us leads and stuff like that. But she would have people that wouldn't follow up, wouldn't return your phone calls, would just ghost you. So I think the second party that I did, I was really excited. I was like, oh, this is going to be a good party. It was like 30 people there. And I was like, yes, this is going to be a great party. And I actually took the party from another lady who couldn't do it. And I remembered I kind of regretted taking the party because I had gone wedding dress shopping that day. And I was super exhausted. And the party was like 45 minutes or an hour away from where I live. But I was like, okay, I got to pull myself up. Like, this party is going to be amazing. There's like 30 people there, 2 hours out of my life. I'm going to do good at this party. I got not one sale at that party. So now I'm tired. I'm mad. I'm annoyed. And I probably didn't have gas in my car either, knowing me. So I think like the third party that I did, I got a couple of sales, but still I was spending more money than I was actually making. And I actually remember the last party that I did really good in sales. And then the hostess like ghosted me when I told her, because the hostess would get a certain percentage off of however, a certain percentage in free products for however much someone spent at their party. And they had spent enough money at her party in order for her to get, I think like $60 or $70 worth of free stuff. And this was my biggest party that I had ever done. And then she just completely ghosted me. Like, she didn't even get her free stuff. And I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm going to strange people's houses at nighttime. And it's a bunch of strange people. I don't know, anything could possibly happen to me. I don't know who's in these houses, who's in these back rooms. Like, I'm making absolutely no money, and it's just not worth my time anymore. So I stopped doing that. So that was in 2011, and I kind of just let the whole entrepreneurship thing go, because I was like, clearly it's not for me. I was like, Angel, you didn't even sell your own Girl Scout cookies growing up. Your parents sold your Girl Scout cookies for you. So what made you think that being an entrepreneur and trying to sell stuff was going to work for you? So hung that hat up and didn't pick it back up again until 9 years later when COVID hit. And my best friend and so I actually at the back, like my best friend and I, we had talked about, he was like, oh, we should go into event planning together. And then we never did. And then when COVID hit, we talked about it again. She had a Cricut, which is what you use, for anybody who doesn't know, is what you use to make t-shirts. So she had a Cricut, and I was like, well, you can do t-shirts. And I had a sewing machine, and I was like, ooh, and I can make earrings, and I can also get my sewing machine back out and make like zipper pouches and stuff. So we came up with the name for it. We came up with the logo. We went on YouTube, started watching videos, because I hadn't sewn anything in years. So started watching videos, figuring out how to do stuff. We had all this stuff. We created an Instagram page. We created a Facebook page. We were in the groups that was, because that was when everybody was stuck at home. So everyone was back on the I'm becoming an entrepreneur train. So we were in all the Facebook groups, like promoting ourselves and everything. I mean, our only customers actually was family members. That was basically it, was our main customers. And then I started doing masks, because of course everyone was wearing masks. So I did get some orders from masks. And after I put myself out there on Facebook, I got some orders for masks. But that kind of just like dwindled off a little bit. And I was like, okay. And that was around the time that I got into making tote bags, because I had found this lady on, I think YouTube, probably YouTube, because YouTube was where I was watching all my stuff to try to get back into sewing and figuring out what I was doing. So I was watching a video of her on YouTube, and then I started following her on Facebook. And she had actually created a class to help people learn how to sew, or just to refresh their sewing skills. So I joined her class, and that's where I learned how to make the tote bags that I fell in love with making. And as I told y'all before, that was when people started seeing my tote bags, and they're like, oh, I love your bags. You should do that. I want to get a bag from you. I'm like, okay. So I kind of just started making bags for like friends and family. And I said, all right, I'm gonna go into business with this, and I'm going to start making my tote bags. And then I kind of put that on the back burner, but it just kept like nagging at me. It was in the back of my brain. I was like, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to do. I need to come up with a name for my business. And my husband actually came out with the name for it. He was like, well, 1035. So it was the number 10 spelled out. And then number 10 spelled out. And then, the number 35 in numerical. And I was like, oh, 1035. I was like, that's cute. I was like, but what what does that mean? And he was like, the time that your child was born. I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. So from there, 1035 Crafts and More LLC was born, and it was just supposed to be a focus on tote bags. And so this was in 2021. So now we're in 2021 at this point. And I remember I wanted to get the LLC because I wanted to do like vendor fairs and craft fairs. And whenever I would go online to look those up to find out more information about them, they would always ask for your tax ID and different things that I didn't have because I was just a hobby. I wasn't an actual like business. So I said, okay, I was like, now I have my tax ID and I'm going to do this. So I think maybe a week after I got my LLC and my tax ID, I signed up for a vendor fair. I actually signed up for 2 vendor fairs back to back. So the first one that I signed up for was on a Saturday, and it was supposed to be from, I think, 11 to 4 or 11 to 5, and it cost me $60. And then the second one was on a Sunday, and that one was from 12 to 4, and that one only cost me $20. So I was super excited. Get out there to the vendor fair, and I get set up. Again, my first vendor fair. And there are some people out there who were really nice. One thing that I learned is that majority of the people that you will meet in the crafting world are super nice and super helpful. And so they could tell that I was a little nervous, so they were helping me. So first thing with the setup, one, I wasn't with any of the vendors. I was back there I was set up with like the food people because they were having some kind of steak cook-off or barbecue cook-off or something like that. So I was set up with the food vendors. And I ended up getting free steak out of it, but it didn't really help me for my business because nobody saw that I was there. And I didn't know about niching down and sticking to kind of one theme. I just thought that I needed to have all the things at this vendor fair because if I had all the things, somebody was going to want something. So I could have something. So at that fair, I had tote bags, I had baby bibs, I had burp cloths, I had zipper pouches. There was something else that I had. I don't even know what I had. Anyways, $60 for that vendor fair. And I made absolutely nothing. And we actually ended up leaving early because we weren't getting any business. And I was kind of happy that somebody else was like, yeah, we're packing up and we're leaving. And the guy came around and was like, hey, you all can go ahead and pack up and leave. I know that you all aren't getting a lot of business because the first thing that some of the people told me when I met them and things I had read online was like, you can't leave a vendor fair early. Even if you're not making money, you can't leave the vendor fair early because that looks bad on you and you won't be invited back, or it'll get around that you don't stay for the whole vendor fair. And it looks bad for other vendors if they see vendors like spaces in between and people leaving. So after 2 hours of being out there and not making any sales, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck out here for like another 4 hours. What am I supposed to do? So I was happy when everybody started packing up and leaving. So the next day I went to the next vendor fair and I think I sold 2 things. I was out there for 4 hours and I sold 2 things. I spent more money eating than I actually made. So that weekend between the vendor fairs and eating out, I probably spent like $100 maybe. Probably like $100. And I definitely did not break even. And that didn't even count all the time that I spent all the time that I spent like preparing the stuff and making the stuff for the vendor fair. And so I was really discouraged and I was like, okay, I'm not going to give up. So I signed up for some more vendor fairs. I think I signed up for another vendor fair the following month that I found out about, that I saw somebody I had went to high school with. They did it and I asked them about it and they told me about it. So I signed up for that vendor fair. That one was like an hour away, I think. And my husband went with me to that one. And so we were just sitting out there and I'm just watching everyone else do all this stuff and like make all this money. And I'm like, I haven't made any money. I drove an hour. Once again, I stayed up all night long trying to get this stuff out here and put it out and nobody wants it. And I'm like, I've just wasted everybody's time and everybody's day. So I did a couple of more vendor fairs after that. And it was still the same thing. I was staying up all night, trying to figure out what to do, trying to make stuff, trying to make sure that I had enough stuff because I was so scared that I was going to run out of stuff. And then finally, I found this blogger online or something like that. She had like these workbooks and stuff to show you kind of what you need to bring to a craft fair, how much stuff you needed to bring, all of that. So I did her worksheet. Still, me being me, I overmade stuff, overbrought stuff because I just did not want to not have enough stuff. And then I was like, okay, you can't keep making all the stuff. You can't keep staying up late. So I decided to kind of scale back to what I made. And that was around the time that everybody started asking me to make shirts. And my husband also gave me the idea to make coasters. And so I made these coasters. And I remember one of my coworkers, she did kind of like a home party with me and another young lady who she knew who made candles. And so went there. My coasters sold like hotcakes. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And around that same time, I also did another breast cancer event where I did the coasters. And it was a breast cancer theme on my coasters. I completely sold out. I completely sold out of there. Like, I actually made a couple of dollars after taking away the amount for the vendor fair and my materials and all of that. I was like, okay, these coasters, this is where it's at. This is what's selling. This is what people want. So I went crazy with like buying the coasters and making the coasters. Nobody wanted coasters anymore. I'm like, oh, okay. So now what am I doing? Now I'm doing these t-shirts that everybody wants that art's really not in. And so that's when I started doing other things. The t-shirts, and I got the sublimation machine, and I started trying to do like pillowcases and cups, and I just don't know. You name it, I probably tried it. Oh, I do blankets. I still do blankets. I like to do blankets. And I was also doing blankets. I did all of that. Like I said, you name it, I probably tried it. And then I just started getting frustrated because I realized how much money I was actually spending on doing all of this stuff, and I wasn't making any money back on it. And so I kind of I put that down. I put that to the side. Do you have a question about getting organized? What about a tip, or even a funny story about a time that you tried to get organized and it didn't work out, or a serious story? Send those in to me at angel@themodcosc.com, and your question, tip, or story may be shared on an upcoming episode. Last year in 2022, so this is when I decided to kind of slow down on the craft business. That was also in 2022, but like the latter part of 2022. So the earlier part of 2022, like maybe around April or May, I was like, I'm going to be a virtual assistant. Like I can do that. And that's just something that I can just easily do on the side to bring in some extra money. Like I can do that at nighttime after the kids asleep or something like that. I was like, that'll be perfect. So I'll start being a virtual assistant. So I looked up all the stuff about being a virtual assistant, started a virtual assistant business, and I said, but I'm just going to do this as a sole proprietorship. I'm not going to like get an LLC or anything like that. No, first I made it because I wanted it to be separate. So first I made it G.L.O.E Business Solutions. Then later on I was like, I think I want to change the name because I just want everything to kind of be one thing. So then I changed it to 1035 Virtual Business Solutions. So I'm telling people, hey, I'm a virtual assistant now. This is what I'm doing. This is going to take off. So before I knew it, this had turned into something completely different. Me supposed to be just being a virtual assistant as just like a part-time job. Was not supposed to be a business or anything like that. It was just supposed to be me being a virtual assistant as my part-time job. Quickly turned in again to me starting yet another business. And then I ended up finding another person that somebody had sent to me about, like, yes, I had an LLC. Yes, I had a tax ID number, EIN. Yes, I reported my non-existent taxes every month to the IRS, but it wasn't a business. Like, I hadn't nurtured it. I hadn't tried to grow it or anything like that. So I was essentially starting two businesses at the same time. And then I'm getting frustrated and I'm getting annoyed because I'm like, everybody's telling me that they're going to refer people to me. And then people would call and they're like, oh yeah. And then I follow up with them. They'd be like, oh, not right now. I can't use the services right now. Oh, not right now. And I'm like, okay, what's happening here? Everybody's out here talking about being a virtual assistant. I'm trying to be a virtual assistant. Nobody wants my services. And I'm not a person that usually jumps on the bandwagon of things. Like, I'm that person that something comes out and I don't want anything to do with it until 15 years later when nobody else is thinking about it. But I just really thought that being a virtual assistant would be just a great part-time job. But again, me being me, I took it way too far and decided to start a whole business. So then I was like, okay, again, researching and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, we're going to go from there. And so I did that. Some people like, oh, I'm going to refer you to people. I'm going to tell people about you. And nothing happened. So now I'm getting frustrated once again because I'm not getting any clients. I'm not getting any business. I'm putting all this time into it. I'm putting all this effort into it. I'm making content, creating content, posting it out there, doing what they say that I'm supposed to be doing. Nothing's coming of it. At that time, I said, okay, I'm going to put the craft business on the back burner because that takes a while to kind of build a clientele, and I'm going to put more focus on the virtual assistant business. And you all may remember from a few episodes ago when I was talking about somebody who was always talking about, oh, we need to work together. So in December of 2022, that was when the person's like, okay, we're going to work together. We're going to do this. I need to get your EIN so that I can put you on the payroll and all this. And I was like, well, crap, I don't have an EIN for my virtual assistant business yet. So I ran home, I was working on my stuff. I have the new name for my business, the Modest Company, my logo and all of that. So I ran home and I was like, let me do this. Let me get my EIN and everything set up. And then nothing came from that. Here I am again with yet another LLC. Luckily, this time I did not use my own money to start this LLC because I had some money from a couple of people who had asked me to do things. So I used that to do my LLC, and to get an EIN is free. So I didn't have to spend any money on that. So I'm like, here I am again with another LLC, another EIN. The IRS is going to be like, ma'am, what are you doing here? Because we're not getting any money from you. Now it's 2023 and now I have yet another business. So I'm like, what am I doing here? Why do I have all these businesses? So I tried to go back to the craft business as well. And I tried to incorporate some other ideas that I had. And I actually found this lady that I thought we were going to be able to work good together with and kind of partner up with and do things together. But that ended up not working. Here are my plans once again down the drain. So that was when I just decided, I was like, craft business completely on the back burner. 1035 will just have to be on hold. If someone asks me for a shirt or asks me to make something, I'll do it for them. But as far as putting it out there, I'm not doing it. I'm going to focus more on the virtual assistant business. And I'm realizing that I'm still not like getting the clients that I want or getting the contacts and stuff that I want. People are reaching out for consultations and they do the consultation. Then I just don't hear anything from them. I'm following up with them and I'm getting absolutely nothing from them. And then when I do get someone, once again, I'm kind of like wavering on my prices. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll do it for, half my rate if you'll give me a testimonial. And sometimes I would get a testimonial. Sometimes I wouldn't get a testimonial. How am I supposed to get myself out there? I'm posting on Instagram every day like they say that I should. I'm trying to get myself out there in the algorithm. I'm using hashtags. I'm doing all the research. And still nothing. Then someone was like, well, it seems like you do more public relations type stuff than you actually do virtual assistant, because all the stuff that I was doing was more PR, more brand recognition, more trying to put people in contact with who they may need to be in contact with in order to get recognition for their business or to help them promote their business. That's where we are now. Is I've rebranded the business to focus more on public relations and educating small business owners on what public relations is, why they need public relations, how it can help their business. But I take you through my journey of entrepreneurship to say that it's not easy. People think that it is easy. We see all those overnight successes, and then when we go and we try to do our business, we're wondering why we're not an overnight success. Well, newsflash, it's not an overnight success. It's a lot of consistency, which is something that I struggle with, because I'm like, well, I did this for a week. why haven't I gotten any results? It's like when you work out and you're like, well, I've been working out for, a week. Why haven't I gotten any results? It's like, okay, you've been working out, but have you been eating correctly? Have you been getting your water intake? Have you been getting enough rest? It's all these factors. It's not just one thing. It's not just consistency in one thing. You have to make sure that all the pieces are lining up. And that's the same thing with being an entrepreneur. Like, okay, you're consistently posting, but are you consistently posting material for your target audience? Are you consistently posting material that people are interested in? Are you posting to your target audience? Like, yeah, you may be being consistent, but if you're not being consistent in the areas that you need to be consistent in, then it's falling on deaf ears. So if you're putting all of your content out there, again, I think I talked to I'm sorry, I'm getting it mixed up. So I also started a blog. I tell you guys, I do way too much, and I need to stop sometimes. But so on my blog, I talked about like which social media platform is right for your business. And somebody told me there's like, you're putting all your stuff on Instagram, that's cool, but you also need to be on LinkedIn because that's where your people are. So in the blog post, I talked about that. When you figure out who your target audience is, you need to figure out where they spend all their time at. If you're trying to target someone who's really into, I have to read my blog post to tell you guys this, but if you're trying to target corporations and you're posting on Instagram, that's not going to work because most corporations, they're going to be on LinkedIn. That's going to be your target audience. If you're a clothing brand and you're trying to target influencers to wear your clothes, then okay, you need to be looking on Instagram and TikTok because that's where they're going to be at. You're not going to find them on LinkedIn. So that's what I mean by like, you have to find your target audience. You have to make sure that you're being consistent in the areas that you need to be consistent in so that it's not falling on deaf ears. And yes, entrepreneurship is a lot of late nights. It is a lot of one person job. You're wearing all of the hats, trying to do all of the things, and it can lead to burnout and it can lead to stressing you out. And then that's the point where you just want to give up. But also just think about it like this. If you keep giving up every time you get 10 steps in, you're going to have to start back over again at step 1. And then you're just going to have everything at step 10. At some point in time, I'm sure you want to get past step 10. I know I want to get past step 10, but you can't get past it if you always give up. And so I just really wanted to put this episode out there just to, like I said, to share my journey with you all, to let you all know that this is not easy. Like when people text me and they're like, oh, you're killing it. Oh, you're doing so good. You're doing so great. And I'm just like, thanks. But am I really? Because I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. But something that I have realized that since I've started this podcast and since I've kind of rebranded my business is that I've been more consistent with these things than I was in the past with my other businesses. In the past, it was just kind of me, okay, I'm going to try shirts. Shirts aren't working. Okay, I'm going to try tote bags. Okay, tote bags aren't working. Okay, I'm going to try this. This isn't working. As soon as something wasn't working, I didn't take the time to look at it and to determine what's not working about it. And that's something that you have to do a lot too, is that just because something's not working at the moment, that doesn't mean that it's not good, or it doesn't mean that it does not have the potential to be good. It just means that you need to look back at it and you need to revamp it and you need to determine, okay, what did I do here and why is this not working? Oh, okay, I had it priced too high. I had it priced too low. I wasn't looking at the correct target audience for it. So those are all things that you just have to look at. And I've kind of gone off a little bit of my topic. If you are an entrepreneur and you are kind of struggling and you're just like, I don't know where I'm going from here. Or if you are aspiring to be an entrepreneur and you think that it's just all glitz and glamour and it's just all fun and games and you're going to start it on Monday and be a millionaire by Friday, I just want you to rethink that. Let me back it up for a second. If you are an entrepreneur and you are in the struggle and you're at that point where you're kind of like, I just want to give it all up. What's the purpose? I just want to encourage you today and just encourage you to stick with it. Sit down, write out your plans, write out your goals, focus on one thing at a time and see what it is that you have that can maybe flow into something else. Like, look at the bigger picture and then take the bigger picture and break that bigger picture down into goals that are attainable and reachable so that you can get there. Because if you're just looking at the bigger picture and you're trying to jump straight to it, you're going to get frustrated and you're going to give up. But if you can see those smaller goals that are achievable and attainable, then that's going to help you and that's going to keep you motivated. And if you're someone who's thinking about being an entrepreneur, the same applies to you. Write down your goals, figure out what the bigger picture is, but just know that it's going to take time. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take dedication, and that it's not just going to be an overnight success. Don't give up. Stay with it. If you're feeling burnt out, take a break, do a business detox. I took a month off in July from doing my podcast, from doing anything that had to do with my business. And if I got an idea, I would just kind of like write it down and I would forget about it. And honestly, it was just the best thing for me. I mean, you have to do what's best for you and for your business. You may not be able to take a month off. You may be able to take a week off, but whatever you can, just take a break and detox it and detox yourself from it and come back to it with fresh eyes and fresh mind. And since I mentioned it also, check out my blog for public relations tips and how to get yourself out there as a brand. It's on my website, themodcosc.com, and I will link it in the show.
Thank you for listening. Please make sure to follow and rate the podcast whenever you listen.